when I wrote it, and then White Lotus came, and I was like, But actually, like, I love White Lotus. I'm a huge fan. I think Mike White is a genius.
The first thing I would love to know is just how you came across this story and what made you want to take on the project.
Okay, so I got the book in 2019 before it was published. I got an early manuscript. I got it through Drake's company and Dream Crew, and they sent it to me. And it was at a time I was like, I have a lot on my plate, and I was not interested in doing a story about a dead girl. And I was like, oh, I don't know. I don't want to be bummed out. And I am a mom, and this is going to be really hard, and it's going to be salacious. And from like page one, I was in love. It's beautifully written. It captures the voices of all these characters in an incredible, authentic way. They're all so multi-layered. And kind of most important, as a TV creator, I was like, oh, I see this TV show because what it is a delicious island location with beautiful people and like a compelling mystery driving us through. But it's like, that's like actually like an umbrella. And underneath that umbrella, we get to talk about real things and have really meaningful conversations. And that is like a gift to a surrender creator. So I had a meeting, we went to lunch, and I basically begged the producers not to give it to anyone else. And they didn't. So I'm very, very lucky and very happy.
And I mean, you kind of just touched on this, but I imagine as a writer and with the writer's room, you just have to do so much juggling between timelines and also kind of exploring characters and also unraveling the mystery as this goes. How much of a challenge was it to make sure that you're hitting all of those and doing the right amount of each of them?
Yeah, it was a challenge. I'll be honest. It was like we would sometimes, I mean, our whiteboards were insane. And it was virtual, so it was like insane on the like virtual screen. It was it was like putting together a really, really hard puzzle, and what piece goes here and what piece goes here. And also this show in a way is showing different pieces, right, from different timelines. And then at the end, we're going to fill it all in, and we're going to understand the story in completion. And so it was a challenge, but also kind of the most fun because it was like doing a really big jigsaw puzzle.
And I'm curious, I know Alexis Shekin is a producer on this. I think how closely, did you collaborate, and were there any areas about adapting the story where you disagreed?
I was really lucky. Like Alexis trusted me, and she kind of just let me do what I was going to do. And I'm very grateful to her for that. She's been nothing but wonderful and supportive.
Was there anything that you loved in reading the book that you felt maybe wouldn't work necessarily quite as well in the series?
Yes. And like, I encourage everyone to read the book because they're thematically the same, and the arcs of the characters are the same, but there are some really brilliant things in the book that we were not able to put into the series. And I think my favorite parts of the book are she did these, I don't know what the literary term for like monologues are, but the book is written mainly in third person, but she does these first person in italics, almost like personal essays from various characters along after the death of Allison in different time, from her like math teacher to someone who was on the resort to her college roommate. And you really see where these people are years later and how this incident affected everyone who came close to it. And they were really outstanding pieces of writing. So, but we just couldn't figure out how to like make them work dramatically.
And then kind of on the flip side of that, like were there any characters or moments or anything that you loved from the book that you got to expand on even more for the show?
Absolutely, which was really fun. We did get to kind of create all these hotel guests and give them backstories and really think about them a lot, and to expand them as possible suspects and to really, so that was really fun. And then I did create, Emily's story is very internal. And so to kind of show her stakes, I gave her a friend and a boyfriend that did not exist in the book. So I had like visual stakes for her, but also people for her to talk to. And I love both those characters a lot. So that was really fun.
In just, I've seen some episodes, but in looking at the trailers and stuff, I've seen comments kind of comparing the look of this to White Lotus, just in the sense of like, there's a death at a beautiful resort and stuff. This is, of course, a very different story, but where was that in your mind at all as you were writing this, in terms of like things you wanted to stay away from, or, things you were looking to?
Well, so I actually got the book in 2019. So the pilot was done before White Lotus aired. So I had never seen White Lotus when I wrote it, and then White Lotus came, and I was like, But actually, like, I love White Lotus. I'm a huge fan. I think White is a genius. I hope that we get the same audience that White Lotus got, and I hope we get spoken about as much as White Lotus does. And if we're compared and it helps in that way, then yes, obviously tonally that is satire, and it is really, 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 really different. Yeah.
Okay. And then I think this might be my last one for you, but I read that Alexis Shakin described the different settings of the novel as in conversation with each other, which I thought was beautiful. In adapting it to the screen, how did you want to make sure that those two locations kind of played off of each other?
I mean, what is really interesting is about the book, and is about like we're dealing with islands, right? We're dealing with Brooklyn and St. X in the Caribbean, and we're dealing with a kind of, we're in gentrified Brooklyn. We're a white girl in a Black neighborhood, and on the island, white guests with a Black staff. And so like they are like visually mirroring each other. And we did a lot. And obviously the stories are intersecting, and we're learning, parsing together information we get from what happened in the past to what happened in the present. And then also, of course, woven through is the story of these young boys, and they're on a different part of the island, and like to see, and also mirroring each other. We have young, optimistic, hopeful Gogo working on the island, and 20 years later, with using his old name Clive, a dark, damaged, cold man. And so, and like New York is kind of like shot, dark, and damaged, and like Clive, and the island is beautiful and glorious and hopeful. And so I think, they do inform each other.
That's great. I think that's all I have for you, but thanks for taking the time. I am loving the show. Congratulations on it. It's great.
Thank you so much.